Kawhi Leonard is quietly having an MVP type season. Let's get into this. Kawhi Leonard is known as a really quiet guy that just gets better and better every offseason and continuously works hard at his game. When Kawhi Leonard was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, he wasn't seen as much more than just a great defender, and look where he's at now. He won a championship with the San Antonio Spurs, then he got traded to the Toronto Raptors when he wanted out of San Antonio, won a championship with them, and now Kawhi Leonard's on the Clippers where he's trying to get his third championship with 3 different teams. Last season, Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers had a ton of hype going into the playoffs, and everyone was seeing them as the championship favorites, but ever since they blew that 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the bubble, the hype around the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard has really died down, and they've almost been somewhat of an underdog this season. This season, they definitely made a few changes, letting go of guys like Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, and bringing in other guys like Serge Ibaka and Rajon Rondo to fill in their spots. Although last season they had really talented defenders, and during the regular season they were a really good defensive team, when it came down to the playoffs, and which was the reason, I think, one of the biggest reasons why they ended up losing 3-1 to the Nuggets, was the fact that Montrezl Harrell was just not able to defend in the pick and roll. And after letting him go and bringing in a guy like Serge Ibaka, who could definitely guard in the pick and roll and could actually excel on defense, which is a huge change for them. Along with Pandemic P playing probably the worst basketball of his career, but this season, Pandemic P, or actually Paul George, he upgraded back up to, is playing really well this season. But when you look at Kawhi Leonard this season compared to last season, he looks a lot more focused out there, and although he's not scoring as much as he did last year, he's definitely way more efficient. This season going into the playoffs, I would expect Kawhi Leonard to be way more focused and better prepared going into the playoffs, playing against teams like the Lakers or even the Denver Nuggets again, and actually win those series potentially. But this season, as I said before, Kawhi Leonard is quietly having an MVP season that no one's talking about. Kawhi is averaging 26 points on a really efficient 51% from the field, along with 6.6 rebounds and 5 assists. Kawhi Leonard is still putting up the same amount of points basically as he was last year, but he's obviously way more efficient, and he's also passing the ball way better than he did at all in his career. And Kawhi really stepped up his game recently, especially where he's averaging close to 28 points per game over the last few weeks. But obviously at this point we know Kawhi is a great scorer in this league with that post fadeaway turnaround, as well as he's also an insane defender. That's the reason why he made it to the NBA in the first place. But I think what really separates him this season and makes him a potential MVP candidate at the very least is the fact that his passing got way better, along with his efficiency is also way up. When he was first starting to become a really great scorer in this league, he didn't really have the ability or really knowledge to kick the ball out when he was getting double teamed and really find the open man. But now when you look at him play, you've seen him come a long way from those days where he's kicking out to open guys after getting double teamed in the post now. Now typically I would say Kawhi Leonard definitely deserves to be in the top 3 of MVP contestants just based on the way he's playing, but I wouldn't necessarily say he would win it just due to the fact that he gets a lot of rest games and doesn't necessarily play enough games to actually win the award. But when you look around the league at the other guys that are contestants like Joel Embiid and James Harden, they both too have been injured recently and haven't played that many games as well. So meaning that Kawhi Leonard could definitely be an MVP finalist and maybe potentially win his first MVP. The Clippers and Kawhi Leonard have definitely got vastly better this season compared to last season, and especially the performance they had last season blowing that 3-1 lead in the bubble really made them an under the radar team, and I think that really helps the Clippers along with Kawhi, just because his personality is kind of that, so where he's more of a quiet and reserved guy that doesn't necessarily like to be in the spotlight, and when you're an underdog you're not as much in the spotlight as a team like the Nets or Lakers are right now. If Kawhi Leonard could stay somewhat healthy and play most of the games going forward, including his rest games, and he could continue to keep up the play that he has been playing, which I think both will come true, I think Kawhi Leonard deserves to be at the very least a top 3 finalist in the MVP consideration. Although Kawhi Leonard obviously was a great player before this season with the Clippers last year and the Raptors and the Spurs before that, he obviously won championships with the Spurs and Raptors, I just think this season he looks a lot more poised out there and really aggressive to find the pass and trust his teammates more than he did in the past. And then when you take that into account with his ability to have his super efficient mid-range game, arguably the best mid-range shooter in the league, especially with the fact that he's a really good 3-point shooter now as well, and he can score 35 plus whenever he wants, he should really be considered in the MVP conversation. And not to mention, obviously Kawhi Leonard is probably the best defender in the NBA and could probably win the Defensive Player of the Year every year. I just really like how much more poised and how better running the team is this season compared to last season, and Kawhi Leonard is definitely leading the charge in that sense. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers team as a whole, their value definitely went down after last season's embarrassing loss, but I think quietly this season they're bringing it back, and Kawhi Leonard, when the playoffs come around, is really going to get more respect. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Kawhi Leonard should win MVP or at least be top 3 in the MVP consideration? Or do you think Kawhi Leonard should not win and someone else should win, maybe like James Harden or Joel Embiid? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.